In this module, we are going to talk about psychic healing, which could become the holy grail of everything we are dealing with here. All the people who consult me essentially do so because they want to heal from some emotional trauma they have suffered throughout their lives. But here the question arises: what is healing? Can you heal from a mental illness? The answer is yes. But for that, we have to build a frame of reference so that you can understand what we are talking about when we refer to a healing process. And this is vital because an important part of your transformation process that you undergo when you work with me, whether in my private consultation or in this program, involves precisely giving you the conceptual tools so that you can analyze yourself, and by the way, you can analyze others. Because in practice, that is what makes you free, both from your emotions and from people who try to control you. And that is why in this module, I am going to explain to you what psychic healing consists of and how it can help you restore a state of emotional alteration. And once we have clarity regarding this, we are going to move on to working on the states of psychic healing process, which they are what I subject you to in my consultation. Psychic healing is used to help the patient to recovering from emotional trauma almost instantly. An emotional wound arises, and we apply a series of methods to help you return to a state that allows you to partially recover the normality that you faced before you experienced this trauma. I apply this in my practice when people want to achieve a quick recovery precisely because they do not have time to deal with a lifelong trauma. So, when the patient arrives with a situation that causes a lot of pain or suffering, I immediately proceed to give him a state of psychic healing. And to do that, the techniques that I am going to show you later are used. And with that, the patient recovers a certain state of balance. And this is very important because if you suffer a trauma and do not undergo a healing process, that emotional wound will only grow over time. It will become entrenched in your psychic system and could eventually end up generating some type of unconscious complex that will end up hurting you much more in the long term. So, thanks to psychic healing, you undergo a procedure that allows you to identify the evil, clean it, restore the balance you had before the trauma, and control any state of psychic alteration that you might face due to that bad experience or emotional imbalance that you are experiencing. If you do not undergo a healing process, when you face a problem, it is similar to dragging a thorn in your foot or a stone in your shoe. Perhaps you will be able to continue moving, but you will always do it with pain, which will be in there hurting yourself and gradually increasing the wound you are experiencing and therefore the suffering. If you undergo a healing process, you will remove the evil and with greater efficiency, you will recover that state of balance that you lost due to the trauma you faced. So, when we talk about healing, we are referring to a process by which we seek to restore health that is optimal, normal, functioning of an organism that is unbalanced, sick, or damaged. Therefore, here you must consider the following concepts. First, we are told that healing is a process, that is, a series of steps that leads us to a result. We go from step A to step B to step C to reach a result D. And if you notice, when we talk about the restoration of health, we are considering that through this process, we seek to reestablish normal functioning, a balance that existed even before the trauma or illness. The emotional alteration causes an imbalance in your own balance, And that is precisely what we try to resolve efficiently through a healing process. So, with these elements, you already know that when we talk to you about a process of psychic or emotional healing, I mean that through a series of procedures, I will seek to restore, as far as possible, the state of balance that you had until the moment before the trauma that led you to suffer that imbalance. On that basis, it is logical to assume that until before the trauma, you lived in a state of balance that was suddenly lost, and that thanks to the healing process, we are going to ideally quickly restore that balance that you had before and that allowed you to carry out a series of activities normally. That is what you did regularly in your life, and that allowed you to live in that apparent state of tranquility where you could build your life on a daily basis in the way that was most convenient for you. Now, you must keep in mind that this concept of normality places us in a problem of an epistemological nature. Is there normality when it comes to people? Because each person has their own states of satisfaction. What one likes may be what another dislikes. And with this, you can already see the difference between the physical healing state and the emotional healing process. Since, if you think about it, on a physical level, it is known that the human body must function in a certain way. But on an emotional level, that state of normality depends on each person. So, if you are an introvert, your normality and the traumas that could be generated in you will be very different from those of someone who is extroverted. And that is why an emotional healing process is fundamentally about helping you to discover what the correct state is for you. What is normality, which in your own psychic system is what allows you to have a balanced life. So, if you look, what essentially makes people sick with diseases of the soul is that they want to live in their state of normality, in their state of emotional balance, such as the case of an introverted person. But what happens if that person only lives with extroverted people? Or worse yet, that person marries someone with whom he or she has no compatibility. As you can see, that person is forced to alter his normality because he never learns to balance with others, and this alters his mood and emotional state. So, in order that you keep it in mind, emotional healing begins with recognizing what it is that alters your state of normality, and essentially helping you recover that state or find strategies so that you can balance yourself with the circumstances that you are experiencing at a specific moment of your life. To this end, what I apply in my consultation and what you will learn in this module is to follow the following steps so that you can heal from any emotional trauma you are facing. These steps, which we will explore in greater depth later, are firstly to identify the evil, and secondly, to formulate a treatment. Third, recognize the damaged psychic organ. Fourth, repair the damaged organ. Fifth, heal the emotional wound. And sixth, regenerate your psychic system so that you can return to that normal state of functioning that I was talking to you about previously.